Good, good. That's a lot better. Maybe we should have it this way tomorrow. So I wanted to tell you maybe a little bit about myself, and like what I had to go through. Maybe my experience could be beneficial to many of you. And then like briefly, I'm gonna go through a few slides about the ecosystem. Like we often talk about ecosystem. We really realize its importance. So I wanted to spend just like a few slides, maybe 5-10 minutes on that. But let me tell you more about myself. So I was born in Algeria. Grew up, went to schools in elementary, middle, high school. Did my undergrad here at the Polytechnic. Started actually elementary school, believe it or not, at 4 years old. My parents put me when I was 4 years old. So when I was first grade when I was 4 years old, which I think is crazy. Like when I see, I currently have 3 kids, and when I see them grow, especially when they were 4, I'm like, wow. Like I wouldn't believe that my parents did that. And the reason it actually stemmed from the fact that, as probably many of you, our parents grew up during the French colonization, and education was such an important thing that they wanted us, the children, to have the best education, and I think that was one of the main reasons. And, the first story that I wanted to mention is that of my mom, actually. So my mom was among the very few women that were able to have an education during the colonization time. And she was brilliant, honestly. And she had a French teacher who once asked her, "Oh, what do you want to become when you wanted to grow older?" And she said, "I wanted to be a doctor." And so although my mom was brilliant, she looked at her in a very condescending way and said, "Doctor, I best you be a teacher." And my mom couldn't take that. She's like, "Why couldn't she be a Pardon? Another Arabia. But there are people who are present who yeah. I mean, there are people who don't understand Arabic. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. I think to be fair to the audience, I'll speak in English. Do you guys all understand English? Just making sure. Okay. See. All right. So. Yeah, so she couldn't take it, and luckily Algeria had its independence, and she did indeed become a doctor. And going back to the question that Samu asked, which was, how do you make actually men believe that women should have equal chances? I would say, look at your mother or sister or aunt or anything like that, and I'm sure that you will find one of them that was actually successful and made an impact, not only as a mother, but also an impact in the society she lived in. So I think that's an important part. So going back to me, so I went to elementary, middle, high school, did college here, and when I was in my 4th year of the engineering school, I'm sure it's still the case, engineering schools here are 5 years. I decided that I wouldn't want to go to France. I wanted to pursue my studies, and pretty much the only option of pursuing studies usually for Algerians is to go to France because of the language. I'm like, can I do it? Say in the U.S. It's the best educational system. It's the most of the biggest companies are actually in the U.S. So why would I, choose the halfway, and maybe I should be able to get it all the way. And at that time, actually, I didn't know much English. I barely spoke it. And I'm like, okay, first thing I would need to learn English. And I started taking English classes. Within a year, I was able to take the TOEFL and GRE, which are the tests required to basically apply to any U.S. school. I did my applications, got my recommendation letters done, sent them out, and 3 months later, I started getting responses back. And I was actually surprised in the sense that I got admitted by so many universities. And not only was I getting admitted, but I was also getting a scholarship from those very universities. And so I ended up going, of course. It's been a while now, actually. So I've lived there ever since. I ended up getting my PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford. Stanford actually was the life-changing moment for me. Because it gave me like a perspective on life that I never thought I would have, or it even existed. So the way we're brought up here is that, you know, like if you look at our schools, we're always told, you know, like to excel in studies, and that usually means, you know, like doing very well in exams and studying, tests after tests after tests, and you know, like we get wrapped up with that. So there's always, you know, that feeling of fear that you always have. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna have an exam today, I'm gonna have an exam tomorrow. Fear of teacher, you know, like we didn't have, you know, that kind of like relationship with the teachers that taught us. There was always, you know, that barrier. What Stanford taught me wasn't just education; it was also leadership. And so Stanford has like a very, very unique program in the sense that like there is no barrier between disciplines, first of all. So say for instance I was in electrical engineering, nothing could prevent me, say, like from taking classes in medicine, or in biology, or in law school, or business school. And the idea was to actually create this multidisciplinary environment that would allow you to create new value, not only in the way you're thinking, but also, say, like if you were to start your business, you'd be able to come up with that new value that would become into an idea and ultimately become into a business. What we usually thought is that what we usually thought is that, you know, like leadership, self-confidence, creativity, all these are actually, you know, like something that might be inherent in people, meaning that you were born with them. That is so not true. Just to give you an example, is that like that my daughter. So we're lucky to live in Palo Alto, which is considered to be the heart of Silicon Valley, and the schools there are just amazing. These are public schools, so they're owned by the state of California. And one of the programs that they actually have, and this is actually goes from kindergarten up to high school, is that like the last 6 months of the school year, they partner with people that are successful. So these could be like CEOs of big companies, because we're in Palo Alto, we're fortunate to have many CEOs of big companies live there. For instance, Google CEO lives there, Cisco CEO, like you name it, like PayPal, so many of them actually live there. And it could be artists, it didn't actually have to be in high tech. It could be, you know, like musicians, so on and so forth, depending on the interest of the pupil. And so they would partner them actually with the kids. They would work with them like over 6 months. So these very busy, successful people take the time to spend maybe like an hour a week with these kids, and they come up with the program. I'm sorry, like with an idea, and they try to basically make it happen at the end of that 6 months. So at the end of that 6 months, all the work that the pupils did would be displayed in the Palo Alto Museum. And so once that gets displayed in the Palo Alto Museum, it's actually the inhabitants of Palo Alto. So everyone, and not just, you know, like the people who have kids, go and visit them and celebrate them. So what does that actually do is that the successful people take the time and spend time with these kids. So they give them the role model opportunity to basically look up to these people. Oh, it's like, oh, all those guys successful, is taking the time to actually work with you. That's one. So that gives them basically self-confidence in them. It gives them creativity. The third thing is that because like people are celebrating them actually, it gives them empowerment. And by doing that, you're making, creating ideas, self-confidence, innovation, leadership. They become social values. And actually that basically takes me back to the presentation that I wanted to give, which is the ecosystem. This is, like an example of, like what an ecosystem should be. If you go to the next slide, so I'm going to start with a few definitions that will basically make it simple to understand the importance of the ecosystem. Who can tell me, I'm sure like so many geeks are here today, so who can give me the definition in physics of what the theory of equilibrium is? Oh, they put it. Oh, come on, you clicked way too fast, dude. All right. So an entity is in a state of equilibrium, basically when it reaches its minimum energy. So that's the theory of equilibrium. I'm gonna get in a minute why I'm mentioning this. If you go to the next slide, but don't click too many times. Culture. Who can give me a definition of culture? Don't click. Come on, guys. One volunteer. Go ahead. Can we give you a microphone? Is there another microphone you could use?
As a French philosopher said, the culture is like that. It's like that. So it's interesting and it's inherent in
okay, it's inherent.
This is the first, and the second definition is this of Malik bin Nabi, who said that the Algerian Algerian thinker Malik bin Nabi said that the culture is the blood which is running inside our veins.
Okay.
Inside the vein of the society. To create the dynamism and the agility. Thank you.
All right, cool. That's actually a very good point. Click. Go ahead. Click. All right. So culture from an anthropological point of view is defined as a set of social values that a person can find as a capital. And remember this word, capital. Primary capital. And basically becomes, in a very unconscious way, a way basically to interact through his or her character with the environment he or she lives in. So the keywords are social values, and the second one, primary capital. So when we think about social values, we always think about the moral values, which are extremely important, of course. Do not lie, do not steal, so on and so forth. But what we don't realize is that innovation, leadership, creativity, all these could be social values. We've all heard Rana earlier with the work that she was done. What she's actually doing is that she's inculcating, like leadership and innovation and creativity as a social value within the society. And those are extremely important. And this isn't, when we talk about culture, it doesn't just have to do with communities or societies or nations. It also has to do with companies. If you look at any of the largest companies in the world, especially the high-tech ones, say like take Google, take Intel, take Cisco, like the first thing when they hire you is that they will hammer you with, our culture is this, our culture is risk-taking, our culture is, customer satisfaction, and these are our core values. Because they realize that even if you have, the best knowledge and the best qualifications, if you don't work within a set of culture, within a set of social values, you will never be able to have an added value within the company. So it's extremely important. And we need to differentiate between culture and knowledge. So knowledge could of course influence what the culture is. But if you have like a stagnant culture that does not basically enable all these social values, no matter what the knowledge you have, it's actually not going to work. You will have, like what's called like a cultural crisis. So it's extremely important to actually set the culture, whether that be like within a community, society, nation, or a company, so that you'll be able to succeed. And the word primary capital is very easy. Primary capital. What do you usually use if you have a capital? Huh? What? You spend it? You invest it, right? So, like I'm born within a culture. So basically, the previous generation has invested that culture in me, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna invest it again. So the next generation will have even, like a larger set of social values that will actually make them even more successful. And it's basically a rolling ball. And that's how it makes, communities, societies, nations, and companies successful. So primary capital. So this is extremely important. Next slide. All right. So what's the relationship between theory of equilibrium and culture? No one can. What's that? Minimum investment? Plus, yeah, maybe. So so the theory of equilibrium and culture actually would give you. Go ahead. Would give you the ecosystem. What does that mean? Basically, ecosystem is an environment where you would actually make, by small efforts, you'll be able to make a large impact. So in the case of, like humans, or, like communities, societies, nations, companies, it's basically what defines that entity or that equilibrium within the society. It's the social values within that society. And if you have the right set of social values, then by having a small, by putting a small effort, you'll be able to make a high impact. If you go to the next slide, yeah. So this is with ecosystem. This is how it would look like if you were to go from A to B. Without an ecosystem, go ahead, click. It will be more like this. Which means that with a huge amount of effort, you will make like a very small impact. So you want to reach that ecosystem. It's extremely important, and that's why I'm emphasizing on it. So we usually emphasize more on like, oh yeah, we need to gain knowledge, we need to have infrastructure to be able to do things. But to be honest with you, like the ecosystem or the culture is as important as knowledge and infrastructure, if not more important. Because without that, you won't be able to communicate, irrespective of whether you have the infrastructure or the knowledge. So with that, I like when we have these kind of gatherings or conferences to have some action items. Like we don't want to just have this and and fade away. And so one of the things that we have, as I mentioned to you, like I was very fortunate to go to Stanford, and one of the things that Stanford gives you is an amazing network. Like for instance, for me as an entrepreneur, it has allowed me to raise funds to get the best engineers and to learn so much out of it. So whenever I need something, I would just try to tap in within the network. Say for instance, even if I wanted an introduction to a partner or you name it. So I would look within my my network, and I would try to find like who would be the person that could connect me to a very specific person or the very specific entity that I want to get to. So if you go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, actually, before, yeah, how much time do I have? How much time left? Someone is keeping up? What's that? 5 minutes? Okay, cool. Yeah, I forgot actually to mention about this. So there is this field which is called the history of ideas. It's actually like a very recent field. It started by I think a person from Johns Hopkins. I think his name is Overjoy. It was like basically just like in the late 30s of the last century. And what they look at is basically the impact of ideas that could have, like transformed the way of thinking that people made nations, changed civilizations, things like that. And there's an example that I want to show you. Go ahead, click one time more. All right. So this is a picture of the city. Who can guess what city it is? I can give you a hint. So it's an Arab city, and the picture shown here was from 1250 years ago. Huh? Baghdad. What made you say Baghdad?
Intuition.
What's that? Intuition. Okay, good. Yeah, it is Baghdad. So what can you notice about the city? What's that? Can you move the microphone around so that we can hear people? Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something? What's that? Big library. Okay. No, just look at the picture and tell me what's. It's circular. Yes. Yes. Click one time. All right. So it actually was given the nickname of Medina al-Mudawwara, so the circular city. What else do you notice? Isolated. Actually, not that isolated, but we can get back to that. What else?
An island.
It's an island?
Kind.
Yeah. Okay.
On the Silk Road.
On the Silk Road? Extremely good point. So actually when Baghdad was established, like the first concern about that city was to make it safe. Like it was the capital of, like one of the largest dynasties, which was the Abbasid dynasty. And they wanted to, at the same time, have it, like thrive economically and be a center of knowledge. And the idea was, like how could they achieve, all of the above without spending a lot of money. And so the location was extremely important. So she mentioned the Silk City. Actually, the location was chosen at the intersection of 4 major trade routes. So you can see there are actually 4 doors. Pardon? Someone said something? No? Just my echo? So there are actually 4 doors, like in each corner. So there was the door of Sham, there was the door of Khorasan, there was the door of Kufa, and the door of Basra, which were all major roads. For instance, the door of Khorasan went all the way to China. The door of Sham went all the way to Constantinople at the time. And they also wanted to make it like close to the water source. Because water is an extremely important thing. And the idea is that like by making it like very important point of meeting for all the commerce, is that people would come in and of course commerce would want to sell things. So people would come in and sell their stuff there. And by doing that, people would actually love the city because it will allow them to make money. Not just that, because of the flow of money, the first banking system actually showed up. And then, because there was so much money, they could fund science. So there was the library, right? So there was also like part of the library was actually part of Beit al-Hikmah, which was like a great place of knowledge. And we all know that like so many scholars, like Al-Khwarizmi, with Jabr al-Muqawara, so the guy who is considered to be the father of algebra, and that the word algorithm actually comes from his name. There was Al-Kindi, Al-Jazari, so many scientists. So that's an ecosystem. That was actually an amazing ecosystem. And the water that you actually see around, it was actually not mainly, it wasn't mainly used to protect the city from invaders. But it was actually done to as a water source for the city. That's one. The reason it was made circular is because so that people would be interconnected. There would be no beginning and end. And that way, people would actually have to interact with one another. And the city actually is thriving. Within a few decades, it became the largest city in the world with over 1 million people living there. It was like cosmopolitan, people from all over the world, actually like a bunch of religions, and it was the place to be. And what actually a better way to be safe? Meaning that the people that would actually come from outside the city, would actually love the city so much that they would think this is our city. And that's how they actually made the city safe and peaceful. Click one more time. And the original actually name of Baghdad was Medinat al-Salam, the city of peace. So again, this is an example of an amazing ecosystem. And that's the importance of the ecosystem. So I wanted to stay in your mind. Ecosystem and culture are the most important things that one can build. Of course, Baghdad remained safe for about like 500 years till the Mongols came and unfortunately destroyed it. Probably the people that built it didn't take that into account. But I think it was it's a great example from our history that shows like when you have the right thinking and the vision, you could achieve things in no time. So yeah, so I think that was the last slide I had. One more slide. Yeah. So my proposal is basically create a network platform. So it would allow to connect academics, industry people, entrepreneurs, investors, so on and so forth, like in a very simple referral web portal. And this is actually something that we have within the Stanford community, which is amazing. It's actually like a very close portal in our case. I'm going to just show you a few images of it. But we could do the exact same thing. It just, each one of us has to commit to actually provide his or her network. If you go to the next slide. So if you look on the top, so it just shows you like very simple things. Like it will allow you to find people that you would want to meet, and then you can have like those people, and then you would look within your network the people that would actually provide you with introduction to the ones you want, and then finish the process. Say for instance, like if I wanted some investors in a very, very specific field. So you would go to me, and you would look, like in my network within the investor tab, who are the people that I would know. And so say like these people will show up. So Sam Altman from Y Combinator, or Jerry Yang from the founder of Yahoo. So go ahead, like click again. So say for instance, if you wanted to look at, like what Jerry Yang is interested in, it will basically show you the fields that he would be interested in investing. This could be done for academics too. Say like, for instance, you wanted to collaborate in some like research topic and you want to get introduced to certain people. So again, you use the network, like who would know those people, and you would ask for an intro giver. Because at the end of the day, like if you contact people directly, it's very likely that they won't get back to you if they don't know you. But if like someone that you actually know would give that warm introduction, they're very likely to not only accept the invitation, but they would also listen to you and take you seriously, because those people that they know would vouch for you. And that's actually like very powerful. And so yeah, so my proposal, and this is not just to the audience, but maybe like for the ArabWIC community, is to have this kind of platform that would connect not only academics but also industry and the entrepreneurial worlds all together, and be able to help one another no matter what the needs are. All right, so with that I'd like to end. I don't know how much time I have. but I'll be more than glad to.
Yeah, maybe 1 minute for questions. One.
Questions? Don't be shy, guys. No question?
I want to know more about your business. InSence.
Yeah, business. Yeah, so we developed a technology that is based actually on nanotechnology, which allows us to track motion in 3D without the need of infrastructure. So we won't need any GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or anything like that. So just like basically sensors that are so powerful that can track your motion. So if you were to move your hand like this, you'd be able to shake. So that's actually with the added advantage of being cheap, very small form factor. The whole chip fits like in 1 millimeter square, and very low power consumption. And so what we're doing is that we're building a complete vertical around it that allows you to track, say, like people, processes, objects in environments where the other technology won't be available. So, like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or GPS, or if you don't want to have the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is very costly. And so, for instance, GPS won't work indoor, and it's actually not that accurate for the applications that we're looking after. And so we're building a complete vertical around it, where we have, say, like multiple tags that will have these sensors. So you could put them on people, you could put them on objects, and you could track that motion. And you have like the cloud-based software that basically collects all the data, does all the data analytics and everything. And then you have like a simple app-based management to have like not only the real-time feedback, but all the analytics that will help you improve, like processes or like people motions and stuff. It has many applications in healthcare and industrial and logistical applications.
Congratulations for the wonderful presentation. I would like to ask you, after this very motivating presentation, how can you help Algerian startups or Algerian computer scientists or Algerian people who want to take advantage of your network? How can you help them?
Yeah, so I've already been helping with many Algerian startups and entrepreneurs or even students. Just like on the side note, for students, like who want to pursue their studies in the US, I've been helping them with the whole process, and actually many of them were able to get admitted like the same way I did. And so if you need help with that, I'll be more than glad to help. But like in terms of startups, it's trickier, to be honest with you. Again, going back to the ecosystem, we don't have an ecosystem. And the ecosystem is large. So we talked about, like the social values that you need to have, like in terms of being a successful entrepreneur. Unfortunately, like the way we were raised, it's like extremely difficult for that to happen, unless you really make like a conscious decision to change it within yourself and then within the environment around you. So what I've seen, I'm being honest, especially like most people, I'm giving the example of Algeria because like that's the one that I'm most familiar with, is that it's mainly students. It's like they feel like it's it's a fashion to participate in all the events, like the pitch events and everything. It allows them to travel and to see the world, which is a great thing, I think, honestly. But then they never take it to the next level, or if they do, they don't look big, or like sometimes like even the ideas that they actually come up with, they're usually clone ideas, from somewhere else, which is fine as long as like there is a business opportunity for it. And there are so many examples of cloning ideas, especially in the Arab world, that work like beautifully well. For instance, this company Maktoub that was acquired by Yahoo for over $100 million. There is Soap, which is now evaluated, I think, for like $700 million or something. Yeah. There is Kareem, which is offering similar things to Uber, and so cloning is fine. But I think we need to look beyond that and be able to look big, and like think of ideas that could actually impact not just like the country we live in or the region, say like the Arab world, but we need to think about like impacting the whole world, and it's not impossible. So from my involvement within the last 8 years in at least the Algerian ecosystem, I've met only one company that could do that. And just to tell you, and I've talked to like hundreds and hundreds. And out of those hundreds and hundreds, maybe like I would have considered myself, like with all the criteria. It doesn't mean that I don't mentor them, like give them the help, give them the large picture and everything. Out of those out of those hundreds, I would have probably invested in only 10. And the only one that actually I think had international impact, could have had an international impact, that would have felt comfortable to use my network and say like introduce them to large VCs. It's only one. So just to tell you, so there's a lot of work to do. We've started, I'm sure like some of you are familiar with it, it's called like Algeria Startup Initiative, which is to help for these kind of processes. But it was a long learning curve, and some of the things that I said, it was part of that, even for us, because we didn't realize it initially. But I think it will take time. And a lot of people and a network also to spread the right mentality, the right environment, and then hopefully with time I think we will be successful. Another hurdle is also bureaucracy in Algeria, just amazing. It's basically just thinking about it, I think you'll think of giving up already. And the other thing is investors. Like investors in Algeria are just oblivious. Like they don't realize that they can actually make a huge amount of money if they invest in the right company. And it's like when they can like make so much money out of importing things or like building infrastructures. Because there's so much to build in here, and I'm sure like in most of the Arab world, like they can make so much money. So why would they invest their money at a startup that is actually promising an app that could do this or that? They just don't picture it. Like it's not physical for them, so they don't realize it. And so what we need is actually one success story, and I think if we do achieve it, I think it will open up the door to so many others. And yeah, so that's what we should strive to do.
All right, I think we have to wrap up the session for now. You have to be really quick though, because we need to move on to our next session. The microphone.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just 1 minute. Actually, just before I forget. So we recently started working with FCE, Forum des Chefs d'Entreprise, and we're actually setting up a sizable program for funding startups in IT. And so hopefully that would move things. And the fund is actually pretty large, so hopefully it will tailor to many people. But the bar is also high, so think outside the box.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I have a story about you. Okay, I'm from the United States. I'm here.
Closer to you?
Yeah, what I would like to know is what kind of process or help you can do to the young students who are finishing, say, like junior, senior, that they can be like, make it a chance to find these opportunities that feel like have as well. So they go back and the process degree and go back. And the other one is students who are interested in PhDs. Because there's so much opportunity in the US.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, like the process is really simple. You just need to be aware of it and work hard for it. So maybe, and it's also like it really depends on the fields. So it's It's probably like on one-on-one basis. Just for the sake of time, I don't want to take more time from the next session. But I mean, like, please come and find me. If this is something interesting to you guys, just talk to me and I'll give you all the details. And then actually, I usually when I help people, especially students that want to go to, say, like the master's or the PhD program in the US, I help them all the way. So I give them like step-by-step instructions, and if they do follow the instructions I give them, I always can guarantee them admission with financial support. Maybe not in the best schools in the US, but they will actually make it.